All right, Alexander, we have Trump's reply to Mitch McConnell. And I've been waiting for this, actually. And boy, did Trump really, really crush McConnell. So you could get into how he got here, McConnell, and the fact that he didn't vote to, and I say fake impeach, play impeach, because the impeachment thing was like a theater. So McConnell voted to not impeach, for lack of a better word. But then he still came out with this just speech afterwards, which just laid into Trump. He also did an interview, by the way, and also laid into Trump some more. And he just pretty much said, Orange man bad. Trump is at fault for everything that's gone wrong in the GOP in the United States, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Russia did it or Trump did it. That's pretty much the narrative at this point. This is where we are in today's world. But Trump came out with his own letter, and he released it through a super PAC. So Trump is starting to get out there slowly. He's starting to get back into the public arena, which is good. It's an interesting development, and I think we're going to see a lot more of Trump going forward. But Trump said that Mitch McConnell is a dour, sullen, and unsmiling political hack. That is a direct quote. He also said that if Republican senators are going to stay with him, they will not win again. That is also a direct quote, and I'll read you one more direct quote. McConnell's dedication to business as usual, status quo policies, together with his lack of political insight, wisdom, skill, and personality, has rapidly driven him from majority leader to minority leader and will only get worse. Trump also made some connections with McConnell and his substantial Chinese holdings, which, and I will quote Trump again, give him no credibility on China. So Trump fired back at McConnell, and it was a nuclear bomb. What do you make of what's going on?
Absolutely, and it also shows, by the way, the contrast between the two men, because McConnell comes along, makes this extraordinary speech on the Senate floor after having voted to acquit Trump. Very bizarre already, and but it's all usual dense language, which is the kind of language you now expect from American politicians. Contrast that with Trump's vivid, direct, catchy, the kind of thing people understand and relate to. And of course, he makes also some very powerful points about McConnell, which are going to be really effective because they are based on fact. It is the case that McConnell has been consistently a force for obstruction in the United States. That's what he basically is good at. He's very good at stopping things from happening. He doesn't initiate anything. The point about Georgia, and in fact that it was McConnell's mismanagement of the Georgia runoffs that lost the Republicans Georgia. What Trump is referring to is McConnell's refusal to agree to the $2,000 checks. I trust our viewers remember that particular episode. Trump is absolutely right about that. I did a program about it on my own channel. People have missed, or rather the media wants to take attention away from the fact that it was McConnell's decision to go against Trump's wishes on this topic that lost the Republicans critical support in Georgia in the days before the runoffs. That was what was decisive in losing the Republicans, those two runoffs in Georgia. And of course, he talks about McConnell's his contacts with China, which McConnell will be very frustrated and annoyed about. And of course, he talks about McConnell's the fact that McConnell really doesn't have what it takes to be a popular politician in the United States today. He's not the charismatic figure that the American people look to for their leaders, all of which is true. So we have this legalistic verbiage from McConnell, and we have this vivid and direct language from Trump. But coming back to how it's happened, it's important to understand how bizarre, and I pick my words carefully, McConnell's behaviour has been over the last few weeks. Because on the one hand, he publishes through the New York Times, of all places, his opinions about the impeachment, which is that he welcomes it, and he wants to purge Donald Trump from the Republican Party, and he's going to use the impeachment to achieve that. Then, of course, he backtracks when he realizes that there's no support for this amongst, or very little support for this amongst Republicans in Congress. So then he acts to delay the trial until after Donald Trump has ceased to be president. And then after the trial, where the trial takes place, he then says, well, I'm going to acquit Donald Trump because I think that Donald Trump is guilty of every conceivable thing, but I think that the trial is unconstitutional because it's happened after Donald Trump has ceased to be president, when it's McConnell himself who played the key role in ensuring that the trial actually took place after Donald Trump had ceased to be president. So, I mean, McConnell wants to have his cake and eat it as well. He wants to say, on the one hand, that Trump is guilty, and at the same time, he also says that Trump is not guilty because the trial of him is unconstitutional. He then also says, well, I think Trump should be prosecuted. He doesn't make clear on what charge, but of course, virtually the entire US criminal law establishment are agreed that charges of incitement and all that would fail in a criminal court because the things that Trump said didn't amount to incitement and are protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution. As the House impeachment managers during the impeachment appeared to admit. So here we have McConnell saying different things, using complicated language which will baffle and annoy the American people. And we have Donald Trump, by contrast, hitting home McConnell directly where it hurts, on his do-up personality, on his practice of obstructionism, and on the fact that he has these interests with China, which are embarrassing to him. A real politician, which is what Donald Trump is, versus an backstairs intriguer and wire puller, which is what Mitch McConnell is. And we see Trump edging back into politics. We see an alternative infrastructure, information and social media infrastructure starting to emerge, with Parler back and with other indicators that other media sites are going to start appearing before very long. Who's going to win this battle? Well, I don't personally have any doubt it's going to be Donald Trump.
Yeah, McConnell is stuck in a position where he wanted to purge Trump and get rid of Trump, but he also wanted to get rid of much of Trump's support and much of Trump's base, but he also wanted to keep much of Trump's base in order for him to stay in power. And you can't have all these things at once.
No, you can't be de facto leader of the Republican Party whilst being at the same time against the Republican Party's base. And let's be very clear about this. The McConnellites within the Republican Party are a tiny part of the Republican Party. The tens upon tens upon tens of millions of people who supported Donald Trump outnumber the McConnellites by a vast factor. They even outnumber the McConnellites in Congress itself, where McConnell is supposedly strongest. The only thing McConnell has working for him is that he's got some Republican Party donors on his side. But ultimately, he cannot remain de facto leader of the Republicans on that basis. This is not his party anymore. Whether it ever was, I think is questionable. But the fact of the matter is, the vast majority of Republicans at this present time back Donald Trump. And as you absolutely rightly say, McConnell cannot be both against Trump and leader of the Republicans when that is the position. He's trying to do that. He's trying to be both keep the Trumpians on side and be the Republican leader and be against Trump. And that's why he's making all these bizarre contortions and contradicting himself all the time. As we said, bear in mind, the one person who could have stopped the whole impeachment in its tracks would have been Mitch McConnell. If he'd come along and said, impeachment is an incredibly bad idea, it cannot be conducted whilst Donald Trump is president, because doing so in such a rush would be contrary to due process, and there's major unanswered questions about what happened on Capitol Hill on the 6th of January, and a impeachment of Donald Trump after he leaves office would be clearly unconstitutional. If Mitch McConnell had said that, that would have stopped the impeachment in its tracks. He didn't. So the whole circus, the whole impeachment circus, trundled into town. And then we got this bizarre statement from McConnell afterwards saying that he's going to acquit Trump because it's an unconstitutional impeachment, when it was he who made sure that the impeachment would be unconstitutional by timing it after Donald Trump had left office. These kind of contortions impress nobody. They don't impress Republicans in the country. They don't impress the Democrats, who are furious with McConnell. And of course, they don't even impress the pro-McConnell Republicans in Congress, who feel that they've been left swinging in the wind. So it's a crazy policy, and it shows how ultimately out of his depth McConnell is in democratic politics, and why Donald Trump will always in the end outmatch him.
Yeah, well, McConnell was scheming with Pelosi and Schumer, throughout this whole process. And I think they knew that whether they impeached Trump before he left office, if they had the Senate trial before or after, they weren't going to get anywhere either way. I mean, he brought it on to himself, but we've documented many times in many videos that McConnell is actively working with Pelosi and Schumer to create this narrative that we're now seeing unfold, this domestic terrorism narrative, this January 6th narrative. And we are seeing it. And the interesting part about McConnell, the hole that he's digging is only going to get deeper, because the more he really rehabilitates himself in the eyes of the media, because now the media loves him because he's against Trump. So now McConnell has become one of the good guys in the eyes of the mainstream media. So, they're rehabilitating McConnell. So the problem that McConnell has is that the more the mainstream media likes him because he's against Trump, the more that the Republican base, Trump's base, which is really the Republican base, is going to despise him even more. So, I mean, it's just this, he's dug himself into this vicious circle that he's not going to get out of.
I totally agree. I mean, I have to say this, I think he's on the way down. He's obviously lost his position as a Senate Majority Leader, but I cannot imagine that he's going to remain in charge of the Republicans or a significant figure in Republican politics for very long. I'm going to add something else. We see growing pressure from more and more Republicans to have the events of the 6th of January investigated fully. Mitch McConnell has now come out and said that Donald Trump is to blame for all that happened, everything that happened on the 6th of January. Of course, the more we find out about what really happened, the more shaky I predict that claim is going to look. And for a Republican senator to find himself in that kind of position, maintaining in the face of what I suspect is going to be accumulating evidence, a position that he has now taken, I think it's an impossible one. I think McConnell has lost it on multiple fronts. I think, he ought to really consider whether he even wants to remain at the forefront of Republican politics for much longer. He doesn't understand democratic politics. perhaps he once did long ago when he, first was elected senator for Kentucky. But I think he's lost his way long ago. I think, as you rightly said, he became a schemer and a wire puller behind the scenes, and he lost touch with the actual life of the people of America.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there. Alexander Mercurus, thank you very much. Guys, look for us on BitChute, on Odyssey, and on Rumble. Subscribe to us, follow us on those alternative platforms. Look for Alexander's channel as well on YouTube and those platforms. Look for my channel as well on YouTube and those platforms. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like the Duran Magic Mug, right here with the USA flag. And we have a sponsor for this video, Alexander, which is Greek Travel Gurus. And they have a special deal for everyone that is part of the Duran community. When you go to their website, GreekTravelGurus.com, I'll put a link in the description box down below, and put the code Duran Greece Trip. You will get 10% off a planning fee and 20% off private tours, fantastic private tours. And the best part about Greek Travel Gurus, Alexander, is that it is 100% risk-free because of a lot of uncertainty in today's world when you're dealing with travel. They will plan everything for you, and should something happen, because you just don't know in today's world, given the way the globalists have set things up, if something should happen and you can't make the trip, don't worry about it. It is 100% guaranteed, money back guarantee, minus a small fee that they could either deduct or that they could put towards a next trip. So, I mean, it is the way to travel. It is risk-free travel to Greece. Risk-free travel to Greece. And if you are fortunate enough and you can get to Greece, and whatever restrictions the globalists may put on us, if they wipe them away this summer and you can make a trip to Greece, then these guys will make sure you have an awesome time and you get a great discount.
Absolutely. It's a bespoke service, by the way. So whatever you want to do when you're in Greece, if you want to enjoy the wonderful landscape that Greece has, it's an extraordinary landscape, by the way, incredibly varied. You have alpine regions in the north. You have hot Mediterranean sea and beaches, and further south you have the olive groves and all that. You've got mountains, you've got sea, you've also got amazing classical architecture. I mean, that's where it all began. And of course, you've got a wonderful cuisine and cultural life and all of these things. Whatever interests you, they will arrange it for you. So it's absolutely the way to go to travel to Greece. You get a bespoke service and you get your guarantee as well. So if it's an offer that is a wonderful offer, and they're obviously sponsoring the Duran, but absolutely it's something everybody who is interested in a holiday this summer after these difficult months that we've had should look into. And please look it up, and we look forward also to you checking out our shop and joining us in our next programs.
All right, Alexander Mercurus, take care, everybody.